State up at the Pentagon. Should be a great environment. I would think that a lot of Iowa fans gobble up those tickets, so I don't think the struggles here these last few games will affect attendance there. And Utah State, I don't know if you've seen much of Utah State. They lost to St. Mary's by 2, lost to BYU, who's top 25, by 11, and then beat Oklahoma. And really, they beat Richmond as well. So they look like maybe a little underrated, a little dangerous.
I think dangerous is a good way of putting it. Yeah, especially especially when you've had a week off or more than a week. It'll be 9 days. That's a lot. That's a long time to go without playing. So you worry about timing and things like that. So that's a pretty difficult game. A lot of times teams schedule easy games, so to speak, coming out of finals, because finals are tough in themselves. You don't get a lot of practice time. You're odd hours studying, and all of a sudden you're going to turn around and play a team like Utah State. That's gonna be a tough game. I don't think there's any question.
And anybody who not familiar with Utah State, if you just look at their roster, Justin Bean, I don't know if you've heard that name, Gary, but a 6'7" senior out of Moore, Oklahoma. He's averaging 22 and 12. Wow. And again, off of a pretty decent schedule. So, opportunity for Iowa to get back on the winning track. It's been, that Virginia game. You wonder, had Kie Clark made that last shot, we'd be talking about 4 straight losses, Gary.
Yeah, but he didn't, so we're not. So we don't have to worry about it.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Let's just be happy that Iowa did win that game.
They were a couple stops away from beating Purdue at Purdue.
You're right. And Illinois, for that matter.
Yep.
Illinois game was close.
They've had their moments against some pretty good teams. So
Utah State is dangerous, no question about it. And then another team that's dangerous that's on the schedule is Western Illinois. Lost by 4 to DePaul, beat Nebraska on the road. That's an 8-2 Western Illinois squad. And then, of course, the other game is Sela, Southeast Louisiana. So they will get those 3 games, and then we'll be right back in the Big Ten. So I think we both agree, Gary, it's a scenario where Iowa can reasonably be 3-0 over the next couple of weeks. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but it's certainly, if
2 home games and a game on a neutral court, I think that's definitely a possibility for sure.
Anything less than 3-0 is a disappointment in my mind, just given the schedule. And again, they need these 3 wins just to bounce back. Iowa basketball does indeed resume this evening. You heard us talking with former Iowa assistant Gary Close about this game following the Cyclone loss, or the loss in the Cyhawk series last week in Ames. And Iowa's had, 9 days off now. They've taken care of some academic things, of course, finals week. And now it's an opportunity to bounce back. They go up to the Pentagon tonight, 8 p.m. Central Time to start for a game against the Utah State Aggies. And like we talked about with Coach Close, this is a dangerous game. So Utah State, if you don't know anything about the Aggies, they're not very athletic. I'll just say that right now. If you just look at them on paper, nobody really pops off the screen. Brandon Horvath is really the biggest kid that they play consistent minutes. Trevin Dorius does play. He's a 7-footer, but he plays maybe 5 to 10 minutes a game. Horvath is 6'10", and averages 13 and 6. So he's going to be a guy who I was going to have to match up with. They should be able to handle him. I think Philip Brach has really struggled these first few weeks with bigger guys. You saw him struggle against, of course, Kofi Coburn, Trevion Williams at times as well, Zach Edey, and even in this last game against Iowa State, because Iowa State just got physical with him. So this is an opportunity for Philip to bounce back against a bigger guy. This is not a small guy. He's 6'10", and he does do work offensively. So Philip is going to have an opportunity to prove his worth tonight. It's a place where Philip has played in the past. He's played well at the Pentagon. It's an opportunity for Philip to get back on track. And again, he needs some confidence. Heading back into Big Ten season, it's going to be really physical. This would be a good opportunity for him. Again, familiar environment. He played at North Dakota, so he's went down to the Pentagon in South Dakota and played in the past. Excellent opportunity for Philip. Justin Bean, Utah State's leading scorer. He averages 19 and 11. Kid from Moore, Oklahoma. Again, long, not real athletic. There's nobody on this team that really jumps off the page and says, man, this guy's an athlete. They're not real fast. This is an opportunity for Iowa. Of course, Bean can score in bunches, but it's an opportunity for Iowa to play a lot of man-to-man defense. If I'm Iowa, you're struggling rebounding the ball anyways, I'd be sticking to man defense almost the entire game. Again, I'm not the coach. Fran, I'm sure, has seen a lot of tape on Utah State, and potentially maybe there are areas or times in the game where he moves into his zone. But Iowa, for the first time in a long time, is going to have games like this where they hold the clear athletic advantage. Now, we saw them get exposed last week against Iowa State from a physical standpoint, but just purely from an athletic standpoint, Iowa should dominate in this game. With that being said, guys like Brock Miller for Utah State can really get it going from three. So, you're going to have a guy trailing him at all times. But that's another reason why I think you play man. I don't think you hold the athletic advantage. You're struggling rebounding the ball, which we all know it's harder to rebound out of a zone. And you don't want to get a guy like Brock Miller going from three. That's really what propelled Utah State earlier this year in their win on a neutral court against Oklahoma, is Brock Miller hit like 4 threes, and they were trailing much of that game against the Sooners, ended up coming back and squeaking by. So to me, this is a perfect opportunity for Iowa to use its athleticism to its advantage and not allow a guy like Brock Miller to make a ton of open threes. Iowa's had that problem closing out on three-point shooters. They've had problems rebounding. Use the athleticism, use the man-to-man defense effectively, and I think Iowa has an excellent opportunity to win tonight. And again, moving forward, you've got an opportunity to win 3 straight. You play Southeast Louisiana, you play a somewhat dangerous Western Illinois team, but a game Iowa should win. There's 3 straight wins heading back into the Big Ten. But if you're looking at resume, this is a huge game. The only game that Iowa has won in the non-conference that matters is that game against Virginia. That's the only one. You lose to Iowa State, it's an opportunity. They had a really soft schedule those first 6 games. None of those games mean anything. They're not going to be counted towards anything for Iowa. The Virginia game helps, but this one, they need this one because there are very few opportunities on the non-conference schedule to get wins. They're already 0-2 in the Big Ten. Again, they lost to Iowa State, of course. Iowa needs to win this game against Utah State. Right now, it's a quad 1 win if they can get it. Both teams in the top 35 of the net rankings, which are what the NCAA committee looks at in March. So both teams want this game on a neutral site. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's possible Iowa could run away with this game because of its athleticism. But Utah State plays gritty. They do rebound the ball effectively. And again, don't let the lack of athleticism fool you. This is a good Aggies team and a team that I can assure you will be ready to go. So again, Iowa, Utah State tonight, 8 p.m. On BTN, and then at 10:05, just following the game, tune right back here live to this channel from the Hawkeye of the Storm for Iowa basketball postgame with Coach Gary Close himself. We'll be taking your calls, chats, comments, and discussing what we hope to be an Iowa win. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you tonight at 10 following the 8 p.m. contest between the Hawkeyes and the Aggies.